Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is April 8th, 2019 Board of Selectmen meetings. If you'll, we'll start the meeting out with invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Almighty God, we come before you while acknowledging your sovereignty over all things. We thank you for your presence. We also thank you for the blessings on our community. Father, as we consider the task of governance, we ask that you would guide our thoughts, hearts, and Lord, we ask that you would grant us each wisdom and discernment. Each of us that prays with you, prays in the manner that we were taught. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So, our chairman is not with us this evening, so I'm filling in for him. And news of interest is that our town administrator has had a successful procedure at Leahy. He's at home recovering. And he's posted on Facebook, so he must be feeling good. And then I'd like to welcome Chief Don Cudmore, who's sitting in and acting town administrator while our town administrator is out on medical leave.
Thank you.
Okay, the first order of business that we have tonight was a public hearing was scheduled, but we don't really have any more information to go forward with. So what I'm going to do is I'll hear a motion to open the public meeting, and then we'll
Move to open a public hearing for LLC Tilson's request to place a utility pole in the town, on a town right-of-way.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, we need to reschedule this meeting.
Move to reschedule the public hearing to continue it to April 22nd of 2019.
Second.
Was there a second?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to discuss this. I don't know that we'll have the information that we're looking for by the 22nd. And I don't know, possibly the 25th of May. I think that's the second. I mean, the third Thursday in May. Is that right?
The 20th.
I don't have my calendar.
Are you waiting for, like, the electric?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where Dave is or if
I'm just going by here what's on.
No, right.
You know.
Mr. Chair, we could always continue it if we don't have what we have ready on that date as
Yeah,
well.
we could.
I mean, I guess that's our next scheduled meeting at this time.
Okay. All right, so having heard a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Do we have to close it? Or?
Yeah, now I need a motion to close the public meeting.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on. Minutes. Has everybody reviewed the minutes and had an opportunity?
I'll move to approve the minutes of March 11th, 2019 as printed.
I'll second.
Second with Kip. Any discussion on this? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Next item of business is the town planner, John Cashel, is going to address us about the changes on articles, what's it, 18 and 19, John?
Yes, yep.
Okay. If you remember, we didn't take a vote on those articles at our last meeting.
So Article 18, pretty much non-controversial. What we're doing is cleaning up the definition for building and the definition for building height. So if anybody has any questions on...
If I may.
Sure, go ahead.
So what you're striking out in this part that says building Is that someplace else? Because in the one further down, it mentions an attachment 3.
Yeah, going over these two definitions with Les Godden, he was having a lot of really a mix-up with what was allowed for maximum height for buildings in town, because within the density of uses, some sections of town allow for 35-foot buildings, some are 40, some are 45-foot. So to make it more uniform, we put that particular section, section 165.3, attachment 3, just cited that because
right.
in varying zoning districts, there are varying heights allowed for buildings. And as far as the definition for building, you see the strike-through language.
Yes.
That makes reference to the building height allowances, which really shouldn't be included in, building, the definition for building. Any height references should actually be in building height. So, it's one of those long-standing issues that needed to be cleaned up in the zoning ordinance. So that's what it's all about.
So if somebody wanted in building height, they could go to,
Intensity of use schedule.
right,
Yeah.
165-3?
Yes. Mhm. And it's also referenced as attachment 3.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions on that?
Not for me.
No. And then Article 19, that has to do with an amendment concerning separation of marijuana businesses versus those uses that are listed within the marijuana business overlay district that are prohibited to be located within 300 feet. So it's a buffer zone amendment that's being proposed by the planning board. And it's explained actually within the article itself. But and it basically, I'll just read it real quickly, the distance requirement may be reduced by a supermajority vote of the planning board, but only if, and there are 2 subsections that are listed. Previously, that sentence read, the distance requirement may be reduced by 25% or less. So there were a number of issues involved with this particular language that exists right now, in that we have a marijuana business overlay district, and because of the 300-foot buffer zone, it created a situation where 84% of the lots within the zone would not accommodate the intended use, that being marijuana businesses. So this will allow for the board to, really make sure that when it comes to requiring buffer zones, that landscaping, fencing, whatever is needed to buffer the abutting properties from any type of impact, adverse impact, perceived or otherwise, relative to marijuana businesses located within the district that's been established. So.
Right, and this would, for those properties that would be impacted, this would allow the planning board's discretion if the building was placed further down on, let's say, a long lot.
Right. Try to impose, the farthest distance between the two uses that are deemed incompatible.
Right.
So this would allow them to do that, and to also impose landscaping and fencing, and, everything necessary to, ensure that there's a reasonable buffer zone between the 2 property uses.
Okay.
And let's see.
I think is there only 2
Yeah, there are only
bylaw
2. Yeah, there are only 2
revisions?
Right.
Planning
And,
board, right.
Yeah, and the Board of Selectmen took action that was needed for the Stretch Energy Code, which is
Right.
Article 21.
Right. I believe we voted for.
We voted to put it on.
Yeah, put it on the
That was
warrant,
about
that's
it.
right. No, that's all we do.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a frequently asked questions publication if board members want that.
On Stretch Energy.
Yeah, yeah.
If I may just make a comment, Mr. Chair, on the,
Sure.
on Article 19, I mean, it just shows again, once again, the planning board realized there was a problem there that could have, I don't know the proper word, exempted many parcels that they'd worked hard, and I attended the public hearing, and I mean, I was grateful that they, you know, took the time to try to sort it out, and it did take them some time to come to agreement,
Right.
but
Yeah.
Right.
It was a fruitful discussion, took an hour and a half to get
Right,
through.
right.
We all
yeah, you meant to
compromised.
breeze through the other one, because I missed that, I was at another meeting, but yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I came in on the tag end of that, and I believe all the members of the planning board that were in attendance voted in favor of this.
yeah, it was a 4-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was worthwhile having that in-depth discussion on this
Right,
issue.
right.
Yeah.
And just so everybody's reminded, any of these businesses need to go before the planning board for a site plan review anyhow, and a special permit.
Yeah.
So it just allows them to do their job easier.
Yeah, and it's a supermajority vote
Right.
relative to the special permit and for the buffer zone provision. So,
Right.
Right, what have you
yeah,
got?
these frequently asked questions having to do with the stretch
That'd
energy
be good,
code.
because I tell you, I'm not sure where I am on that one. I mean, you know, I understand that there's, there could be benefits on the stretch energy, but,
Yeah, you know what, we'll have.
Gonna hand these out at town meeting?
Yeah. Not that it's easily explained. You know, what it really basically is making sure that any new house construction is energy efficient.
Yeah.
And, you know, this stuff has been imposed for a long time anyway. You just can't build a building that has no insulation in it, or, you know, quality windows and stuff like that. That's really what it's all about. Then you have a rating process. You know, you have somebody come in and, you know, they rate the structure as far as its energy efficiency is concerned. It also involves renovations.
well, that's what in the end, it looks like section 29-4,
Yeah.
that mentions
If you're doing,
additions, modifications, and things of that sort.
yeah, you know, if you're doing a bathroom or a kitchen over and the walls of those additions or, you know, any renovations are exposed to the outside, they would be subject to, you know, the energy code.
So this is not impose environmental audits or energy audits on homes,
No.
does it?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not, it's for renovations and new construction. And
It's just building practices.
right. And the thing is, you know, there's an example within the frequently asked questions document that I just passed out. For a typical house in the order of 3,000 square feet, the implementation of the insulation factors and making sure that the house is airtight, that might add up to $3,000 to the cost of that house, but that money would be returned in the form of energy savings. You would save upwards of $500 a year in energy costs, but you also have energy credits. You know, so the $3,000 would end up costing you initially $1,700, and within 2 or 3 years, all that money would be returned, and then you'd have dividends from there on.
Sure.
You know.
Can I ask?
Okay.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Would it affect furnaces and things of that sort? I mean, someone was putting on an addition, and would they come in now and say, well, your furnace is old, you need to...
No.
Okay.
No, it's, that would just be insulation and making sure drafts are out. I mean, today, anybody building, you know, an addition, renovating, or anything like that, that isn't participating or taking advantage of the insulation aspects of the addition, you're really literally throwing money out the window.
I mean, I just know someone was trying to hang on to some old furnaces, he's doing his best, and...
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have
Selectman Sadler?
a couple questions. So, in terms of older homes and town hall here, how does that impact them when they want to do a renovation? Like, does it,
If
Are
you're
they held to
doing,
that standard as well?
say it's an older home and you're gutting it,
Yeah.
taking all the interior walls off and you bring it down to the studs, at that point in time, as part of getting your building permit for doing that work,
Sure.
So you're going to be doing wiring, you're going to be doing plumbing, you would have to implement insulation as part of that renovation.
Okay.
And it'd be crazy not to do
Sure,
that.
sure.
You know.
Okay,
And there were already energy codes in place that you would have to do that anyway.
okay.
So,
And then, do we know what the impact is gonna be on permit costs and taxes? You know, I mean, did you guys discuss that, or?
well, the way it works, you would have, it's called a HERS, H-E-R-S, and that's explained in that document too. You have a HERS rater, person that's trained in testing the house for leaks, whatnot, and what it really involves. And the tester comes in, closes off the main door, and they have a fan system. and-
Blower door.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question was more on the costs of the building permit, so if the expenses are gonna go up, you would think that the cost of permits would go up as well as the
You know,
taxes.
it might,
Yeah.
you know, if this does pass, that might be part of it, because the rater himself or herself have to be paid for their services. So that rating test would have to be paid for by the applicant.
Okay. And if I understand it correctly, I think we were talking about this earlier, that the building inspector already has these requirements, right? Or the code already has these requirements.
Yeah.
So what would be, just for the people at home, what would be the difference if they didn't about to go with the stretch code as opposed to?
The stretch code is really, the real reason why it's being proposed for town meeting this year is it's the next to the last step for Georgetown to apply for becoming a green community and getting that designation. If you have a chance to talk to Les, he is already implemented. He's already implemented into building inspections,
Right.
you know, energy efficient standards, and they're very similar to the Stretch Energy Code. It's basically just a different name, but by the town adopting the Stretch Energy Code, we have a couple of more work items that I'm working with Neil Duffy on, so that we'll have the opportunity as a community to become a green community, green certified. Right now, of the 315 communities in Massachusetts, over 250 communities are already green, certified green communities. And they're eligible for a lot of grant monies that are available for energy efficiency projects that a community may have. And the one project I keep on bringing up is this particular building. That what I would like to do is try to go after a grant if we do become a green community, so that we can put new windows in this building. And I know it's been tried in the past, but it was cost prohibitive. But there's millions of dollars that are involved with the grant programs for energy efficiency in the state. And the state is now going through the review process for upwards of $1 billion in additional grant monies for energy efficiency programs that only green communities will be eligible to apply for.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think as long as the townspeople are aware of what the end game is for this.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of newer products, green products, I think we can all attest that sometimes they're not so great. They haven't been tested over a long period of time.
Yes.
So there may be people that are hesitant about enacting this, for that very reason. But I think if the town is aware that it'll impact grants and future revenue for the town, then that might change the mind.
Just historically talking about this, in 2009, this program, Green Communities, was adopted by the state. in Georgetown at that time entertained becoming a green community, but because we have the municipal light department, the problem, if we were to have adopted it back then, there would have been a slight surcharge to the customers paying for their electricity. That has been alleviated through a policy change so that municipalities that do have their own municipal light departments, they no longer would be subject to passing along a surcharge for the community being a green community.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
that has to do with the policy change. If there's at least one customer that's not paying for their electricity to the municipal light department, in this case, it's a National Grid customer, happens to be paying their electric bill to National Grid rather than Georgetown Municipal. Because of that one factor, that surcharge, that previous surcharge no longer applies. And I did talk to Dave Schofield about that. We were in a disagreement on this at the department head meeting we had last week, but he understood what I was talking about. When he got back to his office, he remembered what the issue was.
Okay.
So,
All right, great. Well, I
but that's what
appreciate
kept us from doing it, back in 2009, was that surcharge issue, but that's no longer a problem.
it. Okay, great. Thanks, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Right.
Just a quick question. So to get a green community designation, does that require the town to adopt the stretch code, or is it just one thing that we can do to get that designation as a green community?
It's just one of the 5 criteria,
Okay.
adopting the stretch code. Without adopting it, we don't meet the criteria. The other 5, the other 4, there's 5. The other 4 we're already in good stead with. Emergency vehicles, buying energy efficient. Well, we don't. The town does not buy any vehicles that require those vehicles to be energy efficient. All emergency vehicles are exempt. Any vehicles the DPW purchases that are 3/4 of a ton or heavier, those are exempt.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And the only vehicles that we would have to purchase would be town hall staff vehicles, but we don't have any of those. So, if we were to buy those, get into a program of buying any of those, they'd have to be energy efficient. But
Okay.
you'd want to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions?
Just a suggestion. I think Les usually comes, but we might want to make sure that Les is at
The
town
next
meeting.
meeting? Town meeting?
Because he may be able to, I
Yeah.
mean, John's done a great job, but he could answer probably more on the way of the state, the grants and that, but Les, if there's any questions.
Okay.
And also, we do have a state representative coming, not elected representative, but a representative
Oh,
from
okay.
Green Communities.
Okay,
Neil
great.
Duffy was going to come, but he has a conflict. He's going to send an assistant. So if there are any detailed questions, he'll be ready. And I'll make sure the moderator...
From the floor of town meeting,
Yeah, I'll make sure the moderator knows the person's name and title. So if we need any technical questions answered.
Okay,
It
great.
really would be important to have this passed. Hopefully, it doesn't get clogged up with, people just don't really understand it, and, it doesn't go anywhere. Because right off the bat, we're eligible for a $140,000 grant.
Yeah, I know you
That's
mentioned that.
guaranteed, and we have a lot of assistance that will be available this coming year with funding to help us put all the pieces together so that we're
That guy trying to hold on to that old furnace could maybe get a grant for a new one.
tax
Yeah, you
credits,
never know.
definitely tax credits.
Mr. Chair, one question.
Sure thing.
Is there an electronic copy of this that we could circulate before town meeting so folks
yeah.
can educate themselves in the
Yeah.
matter that I
Yeah.
can use on social media and whatnot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what, I'll put the whole presentation that we got from Neil Duffy, I'll have that put on the website too. I'll do
Okay.
that tomorrow.
All right, great.
Yeah. Yeah, that further explains it.
I can send it to
Okay.
Kit.
Yeah, all kinds of colored photos and,
Yeah, the more we can push out beforehand, people can read it and kind of get their arms around it so there's not as many questions and maybe they'll understand a little bit more than they would if they just walked in. So.
and then again, in 2009, there were 35 communities involved. And since 2009, there are now over 250. And, you know, in all likelihood, over the next year or two, I'd say most likely 315, because that exemption from the surcharge is gone. You know, so.
Great.
All right. Any other question? No? Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Yeah.
So now I think our next order of business, because we did not vote on putting these two articles on the warrant.
No, we did.
We voted.
I thought
We just abstained from,
From
we
voting.
didn't, from approval.
Well, that's what I mean. Do we need to approve them?
Does planning, did planning vote?
Yeah, I mean, they recommend it. They're on there because they recommended it.
If they recommended it,
Well, if you don't want to say, okay, that's
Isn't that
fine
what we
with
usually
me.
do if there's another group that
All right.
votes on it? We don't usually.
Okay, moving on.
No, I was just asking the question.
No, right.
I thought, I mean, you know, whatever the pleasure of the board is.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome, Chief Cudmore.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to,
Well, it's been quiet at the town administrator's office thus far, which is nice. We've told our friends and department heads to, you know, put on your bootstraps and try to keep it running until we get Mike back. But I'm here to help in any way that the community needs. It's always good to have a backup, and Janet and I meet daily to make sure that there's nothing of importance that needs to be dealt with. But I think we'll be able to handle it. We just wish Mike well and come back to work soon, because it's a tough void to fill when he has all that knowledge. So
right.
I'll do the best I can.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do we know if Ms. Zenos will be moderating the town meeting?
We've been in touch via email with the actual warrant, and I know that Janet has had a conversation with her.
Is she planning?
She's planning on
Okay,
doing it.
all right, good.
And,
I knew there were questions whether or not. I'm glad that she's feeling healthy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on to, let's do we have an appointment for COA. As you know, the long-term board member, Nancy Thompson, resigned because she moved out of town. And the COA is asking us to recommend the alternate, Gene Robertson, to the remainder of Nancy's 3-year term. And then the board will seek an alternate for the future. Now, Janet, oh, there it is. And that Nancy's 3-year term expires June 30, 2021.
Right, so she'd be filling her term till,
So moved.
Okay,
I was waiting for you to say that.
Second?
okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of appointing the alternate, Gene Robertson, to fill Nancy's, the rest of her term?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good. Thank you, Gene.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll go to Selectmen's report. Does the Selectmen have anything that they want to talk about? I'll start with Mr. Fowler.
Well, yeah, first I got one note here, just to let everybody know, tomorrow the Community Preservation Committee is holding its public hearing here on the third hall floor at Town Hall, third floor at 7:30. So I believe that will be televised, or anybody can show up if they want to have anything to say or find out any information about the CPC articles that'll be on the town warrant.
So that's an informational meeting for the public?
Yeah, it's listed as a public hearing. I
Yep.
think we have to have it, but that's basically what it is, the informational meeting. We've already
Okay.
made the votes and moved things forward for the warrant. So, but the other thing that came with it, it's interesting that I've got some mail here, a letter here. I think it's time, gentlemen, that we decide to do something. I would suggest that we start with a workshop on the municipal resources information that we got given on how to move forward with the police department, and that, that came to us that's dated October 2nd, 2018.
Right.
Yeah, and I know that each of us has asked the chair about doing something with it, but it's been busy. I mean, we've had getting the town warrant behind us, budget season behind us, been working on town administrator's contract, but I think that now that, we need to decide to do something, and I personally think that we need to start with some type of a public workshop that we get parties together.
You said police.
Did I say, excuse me, sir.
I was like, I'm like, I'm not prepared, what do we got?
I do that, no, this was a
What is this all
municipal
about?
resources, okay. Fire service management letter. Thank you for clearing that up.
Chief's going, what happened to the police department?
They just,
First day as TA.
I don't know if anyone else has got any ideas, and I mean, I'm not bringing this,
Okay.
it just seems like it's time. I mean,
Well, personally, I think I'm in the pack of, we should be talking about it, because there were several recommendations made in there, and we need to address those and make sure we have a good communication back and forth with the fire department and maybe some of the things that are happening over there.
I mean, if you feel you want to wait for Mike to come back, that's okay, but I think we could, personally, I think we could get started. I mean, I'd like to get started next Monday, but, like I say, we could call it a workshop. You don't need to, it's open to the public, but typically at a workshop, you don't have your cameras running and that.
So that's just to review the MRI report, is that what you're?
Yeah, to go over some of the things. Well, there's a lot that needs to be talked about.
Sure.
Now, I don't know if, I think I'll be back Monday. We're leaving Thursday
Monday's a
morning.
holiday?
Monday's a holiday?
Yeah. the
Yeah, so
15th.
I just threw a date out. I mean, if you want to do it towards the end of the month, but wait for the chair to come back. Mike might be back. But I think we've put it out there. We've all asked about it. I know all four of us have mentioned it. And
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what everybody's schedules look like, and I don't have my calendar with me, but if anybody wants to recommend a date.
I would then, if if next week's a holiday, then we got, our next scheduled meeting is the 22nd. I'd say the week after that, which would be, I think, the 29th.
That's gonna be, no, is that not?
29th of April, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Why is that ringing?
29th is the
yeah, the
next.
29th is,
Not good?
I don't see anything. The following meeting's town meeting, I was thinking. the
Yeah,
next
town
one is
meeting.
I mean, if anybody thinks there's a need to go early, yeah, I'm just,
Yeah.
I mean, typically Mondays is our business night.
yeah.
And
Well, things are getting really coming to town meeting and getting busy, and I think that maybe the 29th would be at least a date to shoot for. I don't know if that fits in.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. At least we can get the conversation started. We did review that at a very high level when we did it, and I think we all had some ideas about how to implement all those recommendations in the back. There were a lot, right? We knew there was some low-hanging fruit that we could attack,
Yeah.
and we had decided that we would revisit that and talk through that.
Right.
And we haven't done that, so I
Yeah.
do think that we should. I think it's more than one night's conversation as well.
Oh, yeah, obviously. I'm
Obviously,
just
yeah.
saying, it's a starting point.
So I think, yeah, it would be worth our time to sit and go through some of those recommendations and maybe come up with a short list of things that we can tackle right away and other things that are more strategic that'll take more time.
Okay.
I think we should have the conversation, though.
In terms of attendance for that, I would assume that we want to have Chief Mitchell.
Yes.
Because his overall vision. And then, do we need a representative from
Well, it would be,
MRI or no?
I don't know where we left with them. That was one of my
Yeah.
thoughts. I mean, we may have
I don't know
to
if
pay
their
for them to come
report
in and
is
help us.
completely done, or if
But
they're open
I
for
think-
questions or
I-
something.
I think that's something that can get discussed with the chief prior.
Sure.
Whether,
Yeah.
I thought they said they were available to come back. Whether it's gonna cost us, I don't know, or what it's, you know.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't think that would,
Can't remember.
I think that would be a great suggestion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I would have Chief Mitchell contact them.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, I think we need to start discussing it, so.
Okay. All right, then, do we have a motion? I'd like to take a motion and a vote on this.
Well, I'll move then that we choose Monday, April 29th, 7 PM, to have a workshop meeting on the Municipal Resources Incorporated Fire Service Management Letter that we received October 2nd, 2018.
Second.
Okay. Here, a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
I'm good as well.
Okay. I don't have anything. Wow,
We beat Joe's record.
yeah, no kidding. We finished the agenda. Janet, do you have anything to say? So, the next meeting is Monday, April 22nd, 2019, at 7 PM in this very room. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, good night.
So that's at
Bang.
1900 on the 29th?